don't want to start without Underhill, you know what I mean?
What's that?
I don't want to start without Underhill. I want to give him an opportunity to get over here.
They weren't live.
I'm sure he's got a lot of good stuff for us.
They weren't live. I'd say screw him. But...
All right, guys. Look, I thought, obviously we just played yesterday, and yet our guys were out here today working. I thought we got a lot of good work, a lot of good situational work. We were out here in shells. And so, look, I thought, it's hard to get yourself back up and ready to go the day after playing a game. And yet, a lot of guys that probably only got about, 8 to 10 snaps. So for those guys, it wasn't a grind. But for some of these guys that got, 30 plus snaps in the game, it was a grind on them today. So they'll be off tomorrow. I think after going back and looking at the tape, I thought there was a number of things that we did well. There's certainly a lot of things that we've got to improve on. Look, I don't think anybody had any false notion about there's going to be a transition offensively. With a new scheme, some new players, new play caller. I mean, all those things are just that's part of the reality of when you have that much turnover. And so, did we execute at the level that we wanted to on every play? No. But yet, that to me, that's your first shot out. And hopefully as we continue to go, the next time we get an opportunity to go out there and play under the lights, we'll be better in that situation. I thought early on defensively, like I said after the game, I thought we did a good job of, stopping the run. I thought we did a good job of getting after the quarterback. And I don't think we did as good a job, as the game wore on, being able to do some of those things. So, but, for a first preseason game, I thought there was a lot of good. And yet, I think today there were some tough meetings. Guys had to kind of come in with some thick skin and be able to accept the coaching. The good thing about our guys is I think they were able to do that and understand the corrections that we need to have made. And we started on that process today. So, what you got for me?
What did you guys think about the offensive line after getting a chance to look at it?
Look, I think exactly what I said. I mean, I think there was some good. I think there were some things that need to be improved. I thought the first play of the game looked like what I wanted it to look like. I thought that was an outside zone where we got movement, we got push. I thought Alvin did a great job on his track, hitting it, and then one cut running. So, that looked like what I anticipate things looking like. I don't think the consistency was where we needed to be. I think there's some things that we got to keep working on in terms of protection. But I think it looked like a first preseason game with a bunch of new pieces, and so now how do we improve from there?
Without joint practices, how does that change your approach to the game this weekend and also how you approach practice?
Well, look, Kyle and I just really, he reached out to me yesterday, making me aware that they got some things going on there in terms of having enough able bodies to have some good practices, and I think we just confirmed it this afternoon right before we started practice here. So I really haven't even thought about how that's going to affect, what we do. I mean, obviously we're gonna be practicing against ourselves, for the next 4 days, I think we'll probably take some of that planned work that we had against the 49ers and we'll take the skeleton of that and just utilize that to work against ourselves. But I really hadn't put any thought into how that affects anything else other than that.
Disappointing?
Well, look, I mean, yeah, I mean, you want to, I enjoy, the joint practices. I think it's good to get, up against somebody else. But, other than that, I mean, we're still going to get some good work here. So, not really that concerned about it.
Did y'all come out pretty healthy yesterday?
Yeah, I think for the most part we did. I don't know that we had any significant injuries. Normal kind of bumps and bruises and strains and things like that you come out of a normal game with. But I think overall, where our health was going in and where our health was coming out, I think it's relatively the same.
Is Shaq Davis a guy that y'all have kind of kept tabs on throughout the offseason before bringing him back?
No, not really. I mean, he's a guy that obviously we knew about, and we felt good about him, after last season, and really wanted to bring him back, and he had an opportunity to go to Philly. I can't remember exactly what all the details were, but felt like that was an opportunity for him that he wanted to take advantage of, and yet it didn't work out there. And I think in particular with where we were from a depth, point on the roster, receiver wise, we were looking for some able bodies, and so we were excited about being able to bring him in. We'll try to get him acclimated into the offense as quickly as we can, and try to get him going.
T.A. Spencer wasn't out. Rattler, is that the normal bumps and bruises?
Yeah, thigh contusion. I don't expect it to be anything. He was fighting to get out here to practice, so I think probably more precautionary measure on our training staff's part.
On the second series, that 1st and 10 rep with maybe Penning got beat. I don't know the responsibilities for sure, but what's kind of like the coaching point there for him? Was like his leverage not what it needed to be, or?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all the details of what we're teaching from a technique standpoint or from a schematic standpoint. Look, I would say there was some good things that Trevor did. I think there's some things that he's still got to work to improve on. It's his first, game playing right tackle, so I'm not overly concerned about that right now. And yet I think we all understand that we've got to improve, and that's what we'll be out here working to do.
Yeah, Duke Manyweather, the guy he worked with in the offseason, tweeted that he didn't see a player trusting himself with this technique at all. Did you?
Yeah, look, there definitely was some. I saw some things that I hadn't necessarily seen out here every day at practice from a technique and fundamental standpoint. Yeah, and so I think that's the key is for all of these guys, and in particular, guys that are trying to establish themselves, is like you see these things out here at practice, and you see the fundamentals, you see the technique, you see the improvement, and then you want to make sure that you're able to kind of see the same thing in the stadium, under the lights, all those kinds of things. So I chalk it up really to a first preseason game, and let's see how we improve from here.
When you went back and looked at AT's game, did you see kind of the things
Yeah,
you're talking
look,
about?
I mean, I saw some good things out of AT. Some routes, catching the ball. Not only did he have the explosive play in the 2-minute, he drew the pass interference penalty down the field. Caught a nice, red zone kind of fade stop play, and so I saw a willingness to go in there and block, and yet I'd still like to see him finish better on those things. And I would say after, we had some guys go down, so there's more opportunities for him. The positive is he took advantage of those opportunities, and so and that's what you have to do out here at training camp. Whatever opportunities you have, you got to be able to take advantage of it, and he did that.
And is the plan with Kool-Aid just still working both inside and outside, or was that kind of a factor the injuries Gill's had at the corner?
Yeah, the plan's working him inside and outside.
What did you think of his performance last night?
Look, I thought there were some plays, in particular in the first half. I thought there was an increased sense of urgency, tenacity, style of play. A couple of mistakes there to open up the third quarter. A couple of things he could have done better there. But I would say I saw signs of the type of player that I think we can have, and in particular early on in that game.
Was there any thought to trying to still have joint practices with another team that's around the area? Is that hard to do it this late?
Well, answer your question is it's more challenging to do. The thoughts crossed my mind. I don't know where any of these other teams are in terms of what they got going on. I'm pretty sure the Rams kind of have practices set up with everybody. Nothing's been discussed with anybody. So, again, like I said, we just finalized this right before we walked out onto the practice field. So we got a day off tomorrow. We'll kind of look and see what it looks like and see what's best for us in terms of practice, and we'll be back out here practicing on Tuesday.
So I guess that's TBD then?
TBD. I don't anticipate practicing against anybody.
With AT, Jake Hainer was kind of saying that he might be the type of guy who's just a gamer, for the lack of a better word, that he plays better in games than he does practice. As a kind of smirk there, but as a coach, is that even possible? Or is that how do you?
I've heard the
coach?
term.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to say that I'm gonna just go through practice and then I'm gonna show up on a game. I don't believe that happens. Some people are talented enough to show up on game day and perform at an above average level. But I don't think you can just get through practice and then show up on game day and be at your best for your team. I don't think it happens that way. So now, there's a competitive nature and things that come out, on game day. But I think you got to practice. I think you got to perform in practice. And I think when you do that, you generally perform better on game days.
What are some of the things you feel like you potentially lose with not having those joint practices?
Yeah, I think just the ability to go against somebody else, see some different schemes, go against some different people. I think that's what you lose. I think we have good practices out here. I think we have a lot of intensity in practice out here. And so, look, I think anytime you get a chance to kind of change some things up a little bit, it kind of reinvigorates, creates a little bit more focus, some of those things. But I don't look at this as any major deal.
Some players have said in the past that they like the controlled environment of joint practices, I guess, versus the game. Is that something that appeals to you?
Yeah, look, I mean, I like the joint practices, and getting an opportunity to work against other teams. It's not the same as a game. A game's a game.
The biggest difference, I guess, would be the possibility of the quarterback getting injured in a game.
Yeah.
Versus.
Yeah.
What you're doing out here.
Yeah. And yet, you have to get yourself ready to play the game. So, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time concerning myself with whether or not we're having joint practices. We're going to get good work out here, and get ourselves ready for the regular season.
Is there any concern with, obviously, I guess not, with Jake Hainer and his stitches and everything going in that game? Or was that something you all thought he needed to work?
No, not really. Not on my part. I think I feel like we had a good plan. I feel like everybody was on the same page. And I feel like based on the information that I had, at least from the medical people, that we operated, pretty standard operating procedure as far as what we did there, and so I didn't really have any concern. And I can't speak for him, but based on the way he played, I don't think he had a lot of concern either.
Well, yeah, when you watch tape of the game now, him and Spencer both.
I thought both of them did some good things. I thought both of them operated out there with poise. Both guys, led a 2-minute drive, which resulted in points for our team. I think both of them had some things just from an operational standpoint that we can improve on. But I was pleased with what I saw out of both those guys. And now, okay, how do we build on it? Where do we go from here? How do we get better next week? So I expect both of those guys to again get some significant playing time in this upcoming preseason game. And I expect both of them to learn from whatever mistakes they made and improve on them.
Do you think you have a better feel for if you have a backup quarterback? I know you said that.
Yeah. But I think we're talking about, call it a dozen practices and one preseason game. So let's put some days and some games and stack them a little bit, and we'll evaluate where we're at. I'm encouraged. I really am. But I'm not in a place to make any decisions on that right now. I'm encouraged by what I saw out of both those guys, and I want both of those guys to continue to go out there, and compete. And so, and that's what they'll do.
There were a few new absences today with guys like Willard Bradford, Mac McCain, Isaiah Stallbird, and Fleek Hudson. Anything of significance with any of those?
All really just kind of post-game bumps and bruises. We'll see how long that they're out, if it's any extended period of time or not. But I don't anticipate. I think a Stallbird's an ankle is probably the longest of what those injuries could possibly be. All right. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dave.